Clinic owners often think once they hit 1 million, they're safe. The truth is, that's when the risks really start. Old contracts, shaky compliance, and outdated ownership structures suddenly become landmines. I've seen clinics hit 1 million only to lose hundreds of thousands because they didn't evolve legally. In this episode, I'll show you the exact mistakes to avoid so you can protect what you've built. Have you ever heard of what happens when you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket? When one of them tries to get out because they know they're going to get cooked, the other ones actually grab it and bring it back into the bucket. This analogy is a lot like you hitting $1 million because there's a lot more attention on you. There's some people that I believe are trying to pull you down. It could be government regulators, could be jealous competitors, could be staff that are disgruntled, or maybe they haven't shown that disgruntled, but they're in the organization itself. And all this to say, there's just a lot more eyes on you as the leading crab. And so it's important when you get above $1 million and you're trying to get out of the bucket, right? You're trying to get to the next million and not get cooked. It's important that you have the actual legal foundation in place to do that. And really the legal lines of defense so that when those other crabs try and grab you, you already have defenses to that. So you're getting out of the bucket. A lot of things happen when you get above $1 million. You're in the spotlight. So you don't have the liberty to have a few leaky mistakes. So you got more patients, you got more staff, you got more regulators paying attention. You need to clean all of that up. And maybe the startup systems that worked in the early years start breaking down. It's actually often above $1 million that you're starting to change vendors. So the vendors that got you to 1 million usually aren't the ones that you want to work with long term. And so you're getting out of contracts, you're transitioning into bigger ones, going from the minor leagues to the majors. And what that means is getting out of a contract is one thing, but getting into a new one and now upgrading and playing for the longer game, that's going to require a legal review. This is just simply because some of the startup systems and software that you use to get you to 1 million doesn't work when you get above that. At this stage, there's also a few other things that happen with staff. So staff are starting to think about what's the future of them with the organization. And if they haven't been happy, now's their chance to leave, or worst case scenario, they're filing a complaint, both internally or with a regulatory body, whether it's HIPAA, whether it's the board, whether it's something else. And so you can't actually coast off of what got you to 1 million. So as a practical step, you need to treat $1 million as a signal to audit and reinforce your legal framework. And once you see why $1 million is different, you'll understand the exact mistake clinics make when they fail to adapt. All right, so it's Tuesday morning. You're sitting in the office. You're scrolling through your Instagram reels and you see that one guy who's sitting in Cabo with his family who happens to have been somebody you went to school with. And you're thinking to yourself, what the heck is he doing and where did I go wrong? I'm sitting here with all of this work that I got to do. I'm working 60 to 80 hour weeks. And somehow this other guy who has the same plastic surgery center, the same setup as me, has all this time for his family, appears to not really be working that much. And, financially is about in the same level. So where did I go wrong? I think the difference between those two is going to be, honestly, that guy was able to delegate. He was able to delegate and he was able to move things on to other staff. He isn't doing all the procedures. He isn't doing all of the business work. He isn't doing everything for the business. And the gateway to being able to delegate and outsource and spend time with your family in Cabo on a Tuesday morning is legal. It's legal contracts, it's the staff agreements, and it's all of the frameworks that allow you to be the surgeon, to do the specialized procedures, to pick how long you're going to do that, but still be able to grow a business safely and be sitting on a beach, not having to micromanage from your phone or something like that. So be the person in Cabo with your family. That's nothing to be ashamed or guilty about. In fact, that should be, I would think, what most of us strive towards, while also having a legally protected and sound business. And on top of staffing, it's all of the normal legal frameworks that allow you to not have stress while you're sitting or on vacation doing whatever you would like. It's compliance, right? OSHA, HIPAA audits. If you're not in the States, not in the office, you know that you already have the policies and procedures and staff that are following them. So if somebody walks in the door on a random audit, you're good to go. Ownership structure. When you're away on vacation, you're not worried that the other owner, if you have anyone, or the other things around ownership are not being done because you've already automated those, you've talked to legal, and you have it all figured out. Same with the vendor agreements. We're basically on autopilot because we have a good sound legal agreement, we have recourse if things go wrong, and we're good to go. So scaling means bigger spend, which magnifies if things aren't done right, you're the guy working the 60 to 80 hours a week on a Tuesday morning, as opposed to the person who's sitting in your Instagram reels on the vacation. Knowing the mistakes is only half the battle. The real key is how to reinforce your business so growth past 1 million is safe and sustainable. All right, so you're the crab. You got out of the bucket, you're on the beach, you're taking Instagram reels, and you're good to go. And that's because you did all the things that I told you to do from a legal perspective. You blew past the $1 million mark, and you are now with your family, spending more time, you've delegated, and of course, you're happy. You did the legal audit, right? You did the review of your entity structure. You went through your partner agreements, your ownership agreements, made sure buy, sell, exit strategy, all of that was talking through. You figured out your staff contracts. We have staff that are happy and compensated now and are classified correctly. They don't know. We know whether they are intentionally a contractor or an employee. And then you've largely automated your compliance so that when you're sitting on that beach, you don't need to worry about things going off the tracks while you're gone. You looked at all your contracts. You updated not just employment agreements, but your vendor contracts. Probably renegotiate a few of those or moved into bigger and better vendors, because what got you to 1 million isn't what gets you to 10. And finally, you considered an MSO structure. So again, the MSO or management services organization, you thought consciously about what you as the clinician could potentially put over into another company and or another management and administrative services organization. You at least had that conversation with yourself and said yes or no. Because when you had that conversation, you consciously were thinking about growth, multi-location, and spending more time outside of the business, simply working on it, not inside of it. You future-proofed your business. You built systems that now are able to handle $10 million instead of 1 million in growth. And that's going to avoid rebuilding later. In fact, very similarly at Holt Law, when we pick a new software, our director of operations, the question that I ask her that needs to pass is, will this system or software pass the $100 million tests? Because I don't want to have to change software again, right? Based on our revenue. And so you can ask yourself the same thing as to, now's a good checkpoint to decide where we're going as a business, and do the systems that I have right now, are they going to be enough to get us there? The difference between being, the crab that's stuck in the bucket and the crab that made it out and on the beach, right? The one that's above 1 million and the one that's kind of, struggling down there in the bucket below 1 million, it really just comes down to this. It's reinforcing the foundation before those cracks actually appear. Crossing $1 million isn't the finish line. It's just the point where the real legal work begins. The clinics that keep scaling are the ones that reinforce their foundation before the cracks show. As we wrap this season, remember, growth is only exciting when it's protected, and the right legal systems are what keep your hard work from turning into your biggest risk.